Good afternoon, everyone. It's Ashley with Court Reserve. We are so excited today to continue our pickleball education series. I am so delighted to have our friends from Rex out near Portland, Oregon. Kevin and Val, welcome.
Much for having us, Ashley.
Hey, Ashley.
Absolutely. So just for you guys that work with us at Court Reserve, you know that we love having customer communications and relationships. And we actually have worked with Kevin and Val for a long time now, but we actually got to meet them in person at our recent mastermind event that we had out in Orem, Utah in April. And spending 2 and 3 days with people is just magical. It just puts the relationship on a whole new level. And so thank you guys for spending time with us. And even after we spent 3 days together, you wanted to do a webinar. So that's even more awesome.
Great meeting you guys there.
It was.
Yeah, it's good. So, okay. So we're going to get to learn a little bit about who you guys are, how you got started, what does Rex mean? So go ahead and give us a little background.
Yeah, well, let's see. I've been thinking about this. So I'm Kevin Richards. I'm the principal owner of Rex, which stands for Recreate, Exercise, Compete, and Socialize. Val is our administrative operations manager and has recently joined our ownership team as well. So that's very exciting. And I've been thinking about some variation of this concept for a number of years, 8 or 9 years to be specific. And at the time, pickleball was starting to get more popular, nowhere near the popularity it is enjoying and experiencing now. So at the time, my idea, and Rex was not yet the name, but it was surely the concept. And there's other games and sports that we do here besides pickleball. That was always kind of the idea. It's just that pickleball has just been on this, as everyone knows, this crazy growth trajectory. And so it's 99% of the programming that we do here is pickleball. So yeah, it's been about 8 or 9 years that I was reintroduced to pickleball after playing a little bit in middle school, where I grew up like 2 miles from here in Gladstone, Oregon. And Val grew up in an hour south in Salem. And I don't know, you may have played a little bit when you were younger.
I don't think so. This was new to me. This came on my radar very, much later. And it was sort of like, oh, this looks great. I came from tennis. I played tennis for many years and I always wanted to do that. And so this whole enterprise was like, ooh, maybe I'll get to play some pickleball.
Some friends and I about 20 years ago started playing, we're all soccer players. We started playing soccer tennis. And so 2-on-2 on a front half of a tennis court. And we just kept playing because we loved it. And we didn't realize they're playing variations of that game everywhere in the world because they're playing soccer or football everywhere in the world. And it was about 9 years ago that I was reintroduced to pickleball. And I realized everything that we love about soccer tennis, these folks love about pickleball. It's very social. It's pretty easy to learn. It's just, you can keep improving and have longer and longer rallies with unforced errors. And that's when the whole vision around a business that's about a social sporting experience really came into focus, and I started to get more serious about it. I will say, one of your questions you sent is your background as a player. The one lament that I have so far is that I opened a club thinking this is the kind of place I want to hang out and play. And a serious frustration I have is that all my time is essentially chewed up running this business, growing this business. So there is a day, and hopefully the not too distant future, where I'm playing a lot more pickleball. I think Val probably feels the same way. It's just we've caught a tiger by the tail here. And there's so much work to be done. It's all very exciting, but we don't get to play as much as we would like, unfortunately.
Isn't that the dream? Yes, the dream is to open up a facility so you have a court all the time, but then you have to pay for that court and fill it full of revenue. So
there's all this business development to do. So
yes, that's right. We could do an entire webinar on running a pickleball facility and operationally doing that. So tell us about your facility, courts, indoor, outdoor, your lights, things like that.
Yeah, so we've been looking for a while, you hear a lot of stories about how much commercial real estate is on the market right now due to the pandemic, but finding a building that's, 15,000 square feet or more, that's zoned correctly, that is financially viable, is very challenging, at least in this market. So when we found this indoor soccer facility that was on the market a year and a half, 2 years ago, I told our team, our advisory team, our ownership team, we need to move fast on this. This is a unicorn in this market. So this was an indoor soccer facility. The pandemic just really wreaked havoc on the business, and the owner was just kind of done. And so it went on the market. The next day, we were in the building to tour. It's 22,000 square feet. We were able to, there's no column spacing. I mean, this is live behind us. This is not a fake background. These are folks that are just here playing today. But it's 20,000 square feet in the arena itself. We have 9 cushion indoor courts. It's 100 by 200 square feet. So we're able to maximize it and put in nine courts. And then we have a pro shop and players lounge, offices, bathrooms. That's another 2,000 square feet. And yeah, we just really tried to maximize the playing space over the viewing space. I think if we do a future location, which is the goal, that we'll have a little more space for kind of the food and hospitality thing. But yeah, that's basically, it's a simple shell of a building, which is kind of a good thing. It's not a real complicated building, and that just makes it easier to maintain, frankly.
Yeah. And so how long did it take you from finding the building till you were ready to open it up on your first day going live?
We found the building, might have been July, and our soft launch was the end of January.
Okay.
So a lot happened in that amount of time, but we took over the building on December 1st of 2021, and it took us about 2 months to get the place cleaned up, to put the courts in, to do all that stuff. And I like to say that we're building the ship. We've been building the ship while out at sail, out at sea since day one, and that's still the case. We're still building stuff, but we're much further along now. Yeah, our community was very excited to get playing. And so I knew if we got the courts right and got the courts in, dialed in, that people would be forgiving when it comes to all the other work that we had to do to get the place really functioning the way we wanted.
So when you found the location, it was the building that you needed. And then, as far as like the community, was there already a large group of people playing pickleball in the community? And were you able to drive those players into your facility?
Yes. So this is really interesting, the way we've approached this and the way I've thought about this, Ashley. There's a very active player community in the Portland metro area. I think everyone knows that Bainbridge Island's where the game started. And so Portland was an area that has had pretty robust pickleball for 15 or 20 years. I always knew, though, that people who play in parks often have a hard time adopting the mindset of I'm going to pay to play pickleball. And so I always wanted to bring those folks and invite them in, while at the same time recognizing that it might be a lot of the people who have never played pickleball that have heard about it, that might compare it to like, well, we're spending this much on movies or our golf membership, and are you telling me that our family can go have this social sporting experience and only pay this much? But that's almost easier to get those people to adopt it than the folks that are just like, well, I'm never playing for pickleball. I still held out that, I don't want to say olive branch, but because there are a lot of people that immediately were like, yes, we're in. But there are a lot of other people. It took them a while to realize like, oh, we could play on these cushion courts every day, 8 months out of the year when the weather's terrible. And so we've seen an adoption rate with the local pickleball clubs, the ad hoc clubs playing out at the parks. That adoption rate started low and it's just kept growing. But it's a lot of the people that are just had maybe heard of pickleball, maybe never heard of pickleball, and just getting them into the first year we offered a free introduction to pickleball class. Those folks have learned to play pickleball here, and they're the ones that are keeping our second summer busy. Our first summer was quite lean. The second summer, it's been warm here and dry for a month in Portland, which is very rare at this time of year, but our courts have stayed very busy throughout that time. And I think it's because so many people over the last 9 months have learned to play here, have developed this community here, and this is what they know and love.
That's awesome. So you actually have a free program or a free class to teach them the basics of pickleball. And then do you have like progressive programming that they can step into after that initial class?
Yeah, so we charge $20 for the intro to pickleball class. We kind of hemmed and hawed over that one, but we've noticed that since we did that, we have the people just not showing up. That's not really happening now. So put a little skin in the game, and we could cover the cost of our instructors. And no one's batted an eye at charging 20. For the first year, though, it was free. And I called it the classic drug dealer model, and that people would laugh at the class, and they'd, and I'd say, you think I'm joking, but we'll see you again. And then sure enough, like as they came back through the doors, they're like, you were right, I'm hooked. It really does work. Like everybody that plays it loves it and wants more. And so we did that for a year. It really worked. We got to a point where the courts are busy, 90% court utilization, basically 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. through the bad weather months. It's a little bit lower at this time, but there's a lot of programming that we're adding that keeps people coming in. But yeah, we try to create a funnel that on the clinic side and on the group play side, if no matter where you are, here's what's next. Okay, you went through introduction to pickleball. Okay, now you take the beginner skills series. Okay, you've taken that, here are the other clinics you can take. At the same time, on the player side, you can, on the player side, you can join this different group play, this round robin. And so and all of our instructors are very knowledgeable about what that looks like. So you've done this, oh, you should really do this. And if there are things that people feel like they need to go back and kind of restart, okay, come back and take Pickleball 101. That's, a new class that we've added. So we're listening to our community, trying to add programming that they want. And it's a way that we're competing with the summer months and people playing in the parks, is that they're looking for organized programming. They want to keep learning. So we're just adding more and more programming all the time that gives these folks what they want.
So let's talk about how you keep them, maybe not rated, but how you keep them playing in their own level of play. So do you use any kind of rating system, and how do you gently bring people into where you think they need to be playing?
This is a big old can of worms.
That's loaded.
Yeah,
That's
this is loaded. Val and I, we learned a lot about what other clubs are doing when we were down in Orem at Club Pickleball USA, and Devin and Mike were really great to host that. I know that that's coming up again in August. Everyone should go to that. Having you and Sim and Doug was hugely valuable for us to have you guys there as well. It's really interesting hearing about how other clubs do things. I have been very hesitant to implement any official rating system for our club. We do now have some other stuff going on here where they're using Duper. There's a potential that we might host some leagues that use UTPR. We have done self-rating, and that is problematic. I think all the rating systems can be problematic. I'm curious to see what the court reserve rating system that gets rolled out at some point, how that works. It is tricky because wait for it, but people tend to overrate themselves usually.
What? Are you serious?
I know, it's crazy. And so we have a lot of people here with kind of legacy players that have history around the rating system. We toyed around with some ideas about what we could do here at this time without going too much further into it. We've done self-rating. We may change that and use some kind of ladder league type stuff to implement a system that we feel does a better job than what we're currently doing to place people in the groupings that they might belonging. But in the meantime, it's kind of on our system. We just are very public about here's what's out there in terms of how to self-rate. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that. It's complicated.
It is complicated. And I think a lot of facilities deal with that complication. They don't know where to start sometimes, and they don't want to make their, players upset. And so, yeah, court reserve coming. I just saw our league platform. That's amazing. Just wait till you see that. So all those are good things. But if you guys, while you're on the call today, if you have any questions or comments, you can put those in the Q&A and chat. Jill's here. She can help guard that. And I know there was a question around, what was he talking about? What is Club Pickleball Mastermind? It's an event that we just had in April. We'll put the link in the comments so that you guys can check it out, and we can talk more about it later. So, all right. So let's talk about being a player at your organization. Do I need to be a member? Can I have a non-membership and just pay for court rentals? Like, how have you seen that work best for you guys?
Yeah, and feel free to jump in on any of this, Val.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a member to play here. You can be a visitor. In talking to the other clubs at Club Pickleball Mastermind, it seemed like this was generally the, best practice is that, you have some kind of membership, but then you also allow people to be, we call it a visitor. I think that's pretty common. And so members get membership has its privileges, right? So as a member, you get more advanced booking capabilities, you get more perks, clinics are a little less expensive. There's just a number of perks around the membership model. One of the things that I love about it is that, let's say a member can book a court 2 weeks in advance, but they want to add some of their friends who are not members. Well, their right as a member allows them to add visitors who would not be able to book it that far in advance. And for us, that's great because we're charging the member, a fee for their membership, and they pay then a little bit for their court time, but they're adding 3 other players who are visitors who are paying a much higher hourly rate. So we're getting both the membership payment as well as the visitor fee. And so that's kind of a nice way of doing it. And it allows us to backfill a lot of court time that may not get used otherwise. When visitors 3 days out can book up courts that aren't getting used, or fill into some events, open play, round robins. We do a win up, lose down format. We added Humpty Dumpty, which is similar that I know Devin said they do at Club Pickleball USA. There's a lot of variations on that format. And we could round out our numbers with the visitors. And I understand too, because sometimes like you live on the other side of town, I can't get there as often. It doesn't make sense for me to have a full-blown membership. We're going to roll out a punch card offering this summer for some folks who do know they want to play here a lot, but just can't get here, in rush hour. But it'll give them kind of a hybrid between the visitor and the membership model.
Yeah, a little flexibility around summer vacations and travel and all that sort of things. I think that's going to be a really nice mechanism for folks to sort of plug into Rex during what we consider sort of our off season.
Yeah.
And I would add that another thing that allowing visitors, having a visitor category does for us is it allows us to do corporate events. So, we can bring in Garber Knives people or the Portland Pickles baseball team. They can come in with their group and we can get all of the waivers taken care of and, all the things that need to interact with our system to make that special event happen for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard corporate events are the thing to do.
Yeah, and I should just mention, make a note of waiver sign, everyone. That's what we use. Val figured out how to use that really well. So if we're not capturing a corporate event, we're not going to create 60 court reserve accounts for people that might just be in town for this event. So we use waiver sign, and we can send out a link to the event, the point person for the event. They can bird dog it, make sure that everyone coming signs the waiver sign. So we don't have to deal with that bottleneck when everyone shows up for the corporate event to get them to sign the waiver. And then we can download the waiver later and then input everyone into court reserve. So they're getting our marketing communications later if we want them to.
That's a great idea for the idea board. I'm stealing it. That's
Good
great.
deal.
Though.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for it to coordinate with court reserve, but
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So packages and punch cards already exist. So that's a win. So if we could do this other thing, it would help your automation. So that's amazing. So,
Yep.
all right. So, well, let's talk about some of the most popular events or programming at your club right now. Like when you look at your court reserve reporting, what are the most popular classes or that fill up the quickest right now?
If we just talk about the group play at first, I mean, the round robins are hugely popular, and we might do I might start with 2 courts, 9 open spots, and I just monitor. Oh, it looks like that's filled up a week in advance, and now I'm going to make it 3 courts, 13 people. That filled up 4 courts, 17 people, and then our staff will come out with a sheet. You're number 1, you're number 2, you're number 3, and then everyone's done this so much now that now we have players just okay. Round 1 ended. We do timed games. So I don't know if you heard the timer going off in the background. That's just much easier. Now everyone ends at the same time. New games can start. So round robins, a lot of variations on the round robin. So the win up, lose down. Some people call it the river. At the first, we were calling it the penthouse and the cellar. A lot of clunky names, but it's basically if you win, you move up. If you lose, you move down. Either way, you split. So it's a variation on a round robin and kind of not really a ladder, but Humpty Dumpty is basically the same thing, but losers don't move down, but everyone splits. It's only at the top court. The losers fall all the way to the bottom court. So that's kind of a cool variation that Club Pickleball USA told us about. On Sunday nights, we have 2 sessions going that are team win up, lose down. So you sign up with your partner, stay together the whole time. Because we have 9 courts, we'll have 4 or 5 teams on the top courts and beginners on the bottom courts. We seed it at the beginning, so you're always kind of playing people around your skill level, and it's fun. It's a really social night. It's very popular, and one of the things I love about these win up, lose downs is that they kind of manage themselves. We don't need to have someone out here really managing it, and as we're bootstrapped in a lot of ways as an organization, it allowed us, when we're a little lean on staff in the early days, hard finding staff coming out of the pandemic. It was a format that didn't require a lot of management. So I loved it for that reason, and just everyone kind of got used to it. But on the clinic side, Steve Peranto is here right now teaching dinking games. He has a class called Beat the Bangers. He has another one that's called Resetting from Anywhere. Steve is going to be, we do a lot of programming for 65 plus, a lot of wellness stuff. And Steve is doing a class on Tuesday for the first time called Pickleball Aerobics. I'm trying to get him to dress like Richard Simmons. I think he's going to. We're going to try to fill this arena with 60 people. This will be the viral, Rex thing that you might first see on nationwide, that Hall of Famer Steve Peranto is dressed as Richard Simmons leading 60 people in pickleball aerobics. We do a class called Balance, Mobility, and Strength for people that are, for anyone really, but over 65, it's critical. There's a known connection between your balance and your life expectancy. So we're talking a lot about this, and it's helped with some of the programming that we're doing through Silver and Fit, through Renew Active. This is the insurance reimbursement programs. So it all ties in really well with our core values, our mission statement, the wellness approach that we're taking more so than entertainment. Val, what am I missing? Anything else programming? I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to hit on the 65 plus stuff because it is a really important market chunk that this is a market that we want to serve and serve well here at Rex, because like you said, unlike a lot of other existing larger pickleball organizations that are more about entertainment and party and that sort of thing, while we do have that dialed in, our main reason for being here is to make people happy and healthy. So we like to focus our programming on things that accomplish that goal.
I love it. I want to come and play. Jill, are you free next week? I think we should fly out to Oregon and do the.
I'm ready.
That would be amazing.
Ready. Let's go.
I'm registering you right now.
Thank you so much.
Actually, you're going to be in leg warmers.
Okay, that's awesome. Yes.
Doing some jazzercise.
We'll follow the whole Richard Simmons theme. Who knows?
Right.
Maybe you could get him to come your way.
Good. We'll see you in a week, Jill.
I gotta go buy my
Very good.
So let's talk about your instructors, your staff there. What's your total staff to help run your day to day? And then tell us a little bit about how you handle your instructors and things like that.
Yeah, staff wise, are we up to 14?
Yeah, I think it's 14, 15.
14 or 15 people, mostly part-timers. Few of us are here a lot. And it's a good mix of 19 to 23-year-olds. And then we've got retirees. So that's a good mix on the staff side. And then, and I always stress to our staff that, yes, we're a recreation facility, but we're a hospitality organization. Cheers, right? You want to go where everybody knows your name. And so we've tried really hard to establish that as part of our culture, that we're very much a hospitality organization.
I would just jump in and say that one of the strengths of you were mentioning our staff tends to be sort of opposite ends of the spectrum, right? They're quite young or on the older end of things. And our staff is our strength.
Yeah.
And what's great about the young ones is that they have so much tech ability because they're tech natives. And that's been really helpful when trying to train folks on how to use your Court Reserve app, because that's essential to, having a Rex experience is learning how to use that app. They've been great for that. On the other end of the spectrum, we've got the more experienced folks who have experience in retail, have experience in hospitality, and can actually train down to the young ones and really sort of set the example for, this is how this is done. This is how we make people feel welcome. This is how we take care of people's needs. And they're just polished. So it's great to have both ends of that.
On the instructor side, it was really interesting going to Club Pickleball USA and Club Mastermind and finding out how other clubs do it. I think there's a spectrum here when it comes to how you handle your instructional program. On the one end, there's Wild West. I think I'm aware of a club out there that I don't think they were at the thing, but instructors add their own programming to Court Reserve, and it sounds like it might be kind of competitive between instructors on how they do things and what programming is offered and the pricing. And then the other end of the spectrum is, we have a lead instructor and you have to go through this program, and it's like, this is just really dialed. We're somewhere in the middle. So our approach is that we do have kind of a funnel with programming clinics, like, okay, Intro to Pickleball is the first one. We have a number of different instructors that teach it, but I put out a form to instructors. Hey, is there a clinic that you want to teach? And what do you think that should cost? And we kind of vet that stuff and work it over. And we've just created a community of instructors where they're collaborative, but our approach is also that you will learn different things from different instructors. There's different ways of approaching things. And the instructors, I'll hear them talking to each other and they'll say, hey, it's funny, like Jenny the other day was saying, to me, like, oh, I'm so sorry, like I signed up for a clinic with Joey, and they're like, you should do that. You should take lessons, clinics from other instructors, because you're going to learn different things from them. So our approach is, just somewhere in the middle when it comes to a collaborative approach between the instructors and creating a community where they feel like they're supportive of each other. And I let them say, hey, is there a clinic that you see being taught that you want to say, I would also like to help with that or maybe teach that? And none of the instructors feel like their stuff is proprietary. They're willing to share their content and work with the other instructors. So it's been good from a cultural perspective. I think the instructors and the pros that were here previously, before we were ever open, that was already the culture. I don't know if it's the same everywhere. It might be, but having some of these legacy players like Steve, who started playing in 1975 in Eatonville, east of Tacoma. I mean, his dad invented the first composite paddle. Arlen Ferranto was in the first Pickleball Hall of Fame class because Steve was complaining about the weight of the wooden paddle compared to a pickleball versus a tennis racket to a tennis ball. So his dad was a Boeing engineer and brought home some plastic, invented the first composite paddle. So they were pro light sports.
Thank you, aerospace.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So Steve tells that story a few times a day here, and so we're lucky to have people like that here who are early on, creating a community and creating a culture that we were just really kind of able to tap into.
So let's talk about your visibility to the community. How do you get the word out about Rex? Are you doing social media? Are you guys doing, what are you doing in the world to get people and drive people to your organization right now?
Yeah, so early on, I mean, it was definitely a lot of social media, a little bit of paid advertising, page digital, certainly. We've done some of that. I think we'll be doing more of that. Hashtag thank you, Devin and Tanner. So we'll be doing more of that in the very near future. But we've done a little bit of partnering with local parks departments that don't have their own programming for our kids camps this summer. With a little bit of PR. So we have a public relations group that we've worked with on getting the word out there. Not a lot of traditional, no paid TV or radio. Earned media, so hey, local TV station, you should know about Steve dressing up as Richard Simmons and leading a pickleball aerobics class. I mean, those stories just write themselves all day, right? So anytime we can get earned media, that's huge, because now we're putting those clips on our website and they just live on. But there hasn't been a ton of other stuff. We're really excited to launch this podcast we'll be doing soon that's targeted to seniors with Steve. No one's doing that currently. I think we'll be doing more podcasts as well. So yeah, those are all some of the ways we've reached folks. Can you think of anything else?
I think you pretty much covered that.
I mean, we're up to, 7,000 or 8,000 people in our database that we could just reach out to and let them know. I think, learning again at Mastermind, how Club Pickleball USA uses GroupMe. We're going to start doing that so we can communicate directly with folks. Not everyone's on Facebook. A lot of our demographic is, so we just launched our Facebook group to communicate directly with them. Yeah. Is there, I don't know if there's anything that you feel like I
That's
left out,
awesome.
or if you're.
Oh, that's incredible. I think it depends on the community you live in, the age brackets you serve, as to what that looks like. So, I know we've talked to facilities who do a lot of corporate events. They drive a lot of people because I can come in and play because I'm part of a business. And now all of a sudden it's, wow, I want to come back as a member now. So that's incredible that you have over 6,000 people. Do you want to give an estimate, like how you've grown? What's your membership growth been like? Has it been like tremendous? Is it constantly changing? Are you pretty steady right now? Are you on a wait list?
It's tremendous. I mean, we haven't gotten to a wait list yet. We've talked about what that might look like. We've looked at the tennis industry and tennis facilities and how they make those calculations. Being open 7 days a week, 14, 15 hours a day. In the winter, definitely there are times we're at capacity, but because we allow people to be visitors and not, paying membership prices, I don't think we have to worry about that just yet. We are in a position where we're looking at scaling, and that's going to, I think, alleviate some of the pressure on this location. Yeah, I mean, I'd say the growth is tremendous. Yeah, we're going to shift from monthly memberships to annual only. We do have a fitness benefit membership that is the 65 plus, where their insurance covers them. That has to remain monthly. But shifting to the annual thing, I think is going to be interesting to see how that changes some things. But we're just at the point where we can and should do that. Probably should have done it a while ago. One thing I learned as well the hard way was keep it simple. I mean, keep it simple when it comes to membership offerings. Man, I got that wrong early on, and there were way too many offerings. But if there are clubs out there opening up, I'd say just try to keep it simple, just 2 or 3 offerings. Basically, you'll be glad that you did it that way.
Yeah, that's definitely the one thing I picked up from when we were out at Club Pickleball Mastermind is, the ability to have an annual membership keeps people in the pretty season when it's nice outside, that they still need to pay for their membership because they want to play when it's indoors and warm. And so, yeah, that's something I took away. Well, we've got some questions that our audience has proposed. And so I'm going to go through those real quick. So it looks like here talking about court cost, and do you have any, who would you recommend? Did you, get different, pricing from different court installers? Did you know who you were going to use, and how did you pick out your courts?
Yeah, so Central Oregon, Bend, Oregon has a couple of different indoor places. Pickleball Zone and Widgie Creek is a country club. And the guy that we use does the cushion courts. His name is Dan Hanks, and his company is Cushion Tennis Courts, LLC. His son does West Coast Cushion Courts. And it's the gold standard having rubber courts because it's much more forgiving on the joints. I think it's why we're staying much busier when it's nice out, because people are starting to realize when they go play on these hard courts outdoors, they may not feel it right away, but like the next day, oh man, my joints hurt. We have people that play here. They're like, yeah, my body doesn't hurt after I play here. And then that's why, it's these cushion courts. So there's other companies out there doing variations on this, but Cushion Tennis Courts LLC out of Redmond, Oregon, that's who we use, and they do a great job.
That's good. Yeah. And I mean, nobody is going to continue to play when their body hurts every day. So I would pay to play indoors where my body's not hurting. So that's a great way to look at it. So let's see. The next question is, do you charge for court reservations separately from membership? And you do. I can be a non-member and come in and rent your courts, correct?
Yeah, so as a visitor, you could book a court 3 days in advance. A member can book 14 days in advance. A visitor can register for an event, a round robin or something, 3 days in advance as well. So again, we're kind of backfilling court time that maybe wouldn't have been used otherwise. Members, though, our gold members only get a couple free hours a month, but then they only pay currently a couple bucks an hour for court reservations and for certain events. Whereas a visitor is paying $8.50 an hour to play, regardless of it's, you know, an event or court reservation. Clinics are different, private lessons, that's different. But then we let groups jump the line, basically, if they're going to pay a premium. Hey, I've got a group that for a birthday party, you know, we want to come in and play in 2 weeks. Can we reserve 2 courts and get an instructor? That's a separate pricing model. We'll charge a premium for that. And nobody really bats an eye at that. You know, we'll charge additional costs for our instructors as well, right? Like, you know, we're getting paid for the instructor time, as are the instructors. So we pay our instructors very well, probably better than pretty much any other club I've heard of. But we want our instructors to feel like this is the place that they want to teach at, that they're loyal to, and it works for us. You know, and other clubs might not work for them to do it that way, but for us, it really has worked.
I love that. The next question is, do you allow reservations of specific courts, or do you assign the court to the player when they check in?
No, they can reserve a specific court when they make the reservation online. I do reserve the right to shuffle some things around, though. There are 3 courts that are just along the back line here. There's 6 that face one direction and then 3 that face the other direction. And these 3 have divider nets between them, and that makes them a little more private. So for lessons, I always try to move any lessons that get booked on other courts just to courts 7, 8, and 9. Because they're just more self-contained. There's other events that I try to put on these courts, or round robins I'll put on the other courts, because they tend to feel a little more communal. So I might shuffle some courts around a little bit. I know sometimes when I see groups have reserved a certain court, I've found that they paid for a membership because they want the right to book those courts. So I'm more careful about those, not shuffling those people around. And we picked up some EULA court dividers to cordon off some of those other courts to make them feel a little more private at certain times. So that's kind of how we handle that.
Okay. So there's a question around programming. It says, do you have age groups as a centered focus for leveled play? Just curious, as you mentioned your wellness groups for 65 plus, we seem to be running into younger 20 and 30-year-olds that wish to play with their similar age group as well.
Yeah, so I kind of created a monster, and for a while we had 65 plus only open play, recreational and intermediate. And we recently switched back to just recreational and intermediate. And I had to, you know, make sure that we got out there with messaging to our 65 plus audience that no, you guys still sign up. You still have the same financial deal to sign up for recreational and intermediate. It's just based on skill level. So yes, you might be playing with people under 65, but they're at your skill level. And so it took a little time for us to, and that was important because we had basically this open play next to that open play, and we're managing them like separate open plays, separate round robins. I'm using the terms interchangeably. Most of them end up being round robins, but they're all at the same skill level. So I basically was like, let's merge these groups back together. One thing that we're doing this summer that I should mention as well is a way to keep people going with their, because we haven't flipped the switch to annual only, keep your monthly membership going, is I've added free early bird open play, free night owl open play, And now even in the afternoons, free afternoon open play. I wanted to call it lazy days or dog days, but it made it sound like the level of play was lazy. And so I didn't want to call it that.
That's not good.
But if you're not a member, you still have to pay a visitor rate. It's a little bit lower, but that's just to try to keep people coming in early. I don't know if they'll ever come at 5:30 in the morning like they do in Utah. I don't know. That's crazy. That's got to figure out how they're doing that. But 7 a.m. we have early bird. Night owl is like 9 to 11. And then afternoon is like 2 to 5, basically. So, I mean, we don't really have we haven't done age specific. I mean, we don't have a college right in our area or anything like that. I know there are clubs that do, and that's great. Like you get the college students coming in late and, you know, they want to play till midnight or 1 o'clock. We do not have that happening here. I don't know at this specific location if that'll ever happen, but you know, we have people playing sometimes till 10 or 11. We'll see if that changes at some point, but not sure if that really answered your question, Ashley, but hopefully.
No, it did. I think you're adding value for your members, right? When you can give them the extra play for free, that's a value added part of their membership as well. So absolutely, it's great.
And the other thing I would mention is, you know, if 60 or 70% of our revenue is based on court time, what's the rest of that revenue? Well, it's selling food and beverages, it's selling paddles, it's selling merchandise, it's all the other stuff that you can sell, sponsorships. That stuff doesn't sell though if the courts aren't busy. So you have to make sure that people are coming into your building and your place is staying busy so that you can show your digital marketing numbers. If this is how many people are active and that this is how many people are coming through our building. Yeah, so it's really critical to keep your courts busy and just keep that top line revenue running as much as possible to do all that other stuff that, you know, I mean, this is not a Gold's Gym or insert name of random fitness club where you can, you know, you could sell 1 million memberships. There's 9 courts. There's 36 bodies that can be playing here at any given time. And so you have to find other ways of maximizing your revenues beyond just people on the courts. And this is why I think you don't see more dedicated indoor pickleball facilities, because people are like, oh, it's so popular. It must be, you know, I'm going to open a pickleball club. Then when you get down to the nitty gritty of like, oh, wait, it's how much to buy or lease a building and people will pay this much to play pickleball. You have to get really good at that other stuff to make it work.
Yeah, that's accurate for sure. The next question is, can you talk about your cancellation policy for your visitors and your members?
Yeah, you want to take this one, Val?
Oh, gosh.
It's 16 hours. It's 16 hours. So Val's handling like all the back end stuff of like the refund stuff come through. And I think Val wants to chime in with the auto refund stuff.
Yay. Yay, Court Reserve. Thank you for auto refunds. We love you. Yeah, that was in terms of Court Reserve, continual improvements. That's something that we really appreciate about our relationship with the Court Reserve is this, it's a constant sort of back and forth discussion of, hey, we need, and you guys saying, okay, we're working on it. Here you go.
Instructor pay is going to be really exciting.
Oh, I can't wait for that one, you guys. No, but auto refunds alleviated a lot of administrative pain for me, you know, partly due to the way we've structured things on our end so that people have flexibility to book and cancel, and we give them quite a lot of leeway around that. I think we're very, very reasonable and even, I might say, a little liberal about our refund policy. Particularly as a brand new club, you know, we want to be as welcoming as we can in every way there is. So, you know, for a while that was taking up a lot of my time, going through manually processing those refunds, you know, daily. Automation has changed that significantly. And now it's like a quick 5 minutes a day, check in on that, take care of that. Thank you, Court Reserve. So
I will say that we have been, you know, in the early days of building this thing, we have been pretty, it's a word. Yeah, I mean, just pretty forgiving, but we're kind of resetting this summer going into the fall with like being a little more strict about some things. As long as you communicate that up front, let the membership know this is the expectation, then follow through on it. It's kind of like, I mean, this sounds condescending, but it's like raising children. Like you just have to know that when you set a policy that you're going to adhere to it, because you're doing a disservice to all the people following the rules if suddenly you don't follow the rules on other things. So we are kind of doing a hard reset this summer with some of that stuff. But you know, someone is sick or stuck in traffic, you know, because of an accident, you know, what we are doing now more so though is rather than refunding to their credit card, refunding to their balance. This cuts down on transaction fees, and it means that now that their money's sitting there for them to use again here, right?
That's right.
We're
Yeah,
gonna come
that's a
back
great
and
way.
use it again at Rex.
That's exactly. Now, do you allow members to suspend their membership for vacation or injuries?
We do, and you know, sometimes we just like will temporarily switch them to a visitor because we do monthlies. It makes sense to do that.
But that's gonna change.
But yeah, that'll change, and that we'll be moving to more of a suspension model. We'll be using that tool more.
Well, annual, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We won't have monthly gold memberships. We're gonna move to annual. So so there will be no suspending of my account because I'm gone for a few months. It's you know, yeah, it's gonna move to the annual program.
Yeah. It's a better business model because revenue is still going to be generated. So, you know,
Yeah. I can imagine instances where, you know, someone is, you know, severely injured and I'm not going to be able to be here for 6 months or something like that. And we can case by case basis, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But as a policy, it'll be much more straightforward.
And at the
Sure.
same time, we're gonna take this harder line with annual memberships. We're gonna roll out these punch cards. So there's a visitor, there's a punch card, there's an annual membership.
great. That's awesome.
Yeah. And we
We
did
got a
have
couple.
55
ahead.
founding members too. I think most clubs do that. It's a way to capture some revenue on the front end while you're waiting for your SBA loan or whatever it is. We were able to capture a fair chunk of capital up front without giving up equity and it wasn't a loan. You know, people just willing to gamble and they're getting a smoking deal now, right? Like some of these people we see twice a day, some of them we hardly ever see, but it's something I'd recommend for new clubs is some kind of founding membership, whatever you want to call it.
And they're a bedrock financially, surely, but also, you know, they got a social start. They were the root of our community that has grown in the past year plus now. So they're important in a number of ways to us.
Absolutely. So we've got like 3 more questions. Will your annual pricing be the same as your monthly pricing?
So what we've done previously is, you know, there are people on the annual program, and what we did was you get 12 months for the price of 10. Haven't made a final decision yet if our monthly membership, how we're going to tweak that. It'll be somewhat close to that though. It probably won't be too dramatically different, but I mean, if you're just looking at supply and demand and access to courts, you know, we're in a position to, you know, and some people are just like, hey, let me pay the premium. I want to know, I don't play there a ton, but I want to know that when I want a court, I can go in and book it, right? So we haven't made a final decision on the pricing model, but you know, it'll include probably 1 to 3 months, something along those lines.
What the question is, what made you finally decide to do an annual membership? For me, from a business standpoint, I learned about it, the benefit of it at being at Club Pickleball Mastermind, and just
Same.
hearing about this. Is
Yeah.
that what you as
Yep.
well?
Yep, it's hearing that's what Mike and Devin are doing at Club Pickleball USA, and what made them decide to make that change. It's just like, okay, yep, it's time. And I think everyone else is like, there's almost like permission, like, okay, yeah, it's time to do this.
One last question. It asks, does Court Reserve track the free court time for members per month? Court Reserve does track the free court time that you can give to members. So I'll go ahead and answer that question for you. So any last advice for people getting into the pickleball space or building a facility or maybe adding it to their, you know, facility? What's your advice for them?
Holy cow.
Don't plan on playing a lot that first year or so.
Yeah, don't make playing I mean, I think it's important to get out and recreate with your members for sure, and I'm trying to get better at that. But let's see, other advice. You know, for us, we just have a really good ownership group We were very careful about screening who, we turned people away that were more transactional, churn and burn. We wanted people that believed in our mission, our core values. Our advisory team is very active, very involved. I lean on them a lot. We just have really smart, thoughtful people about how we're growing this thing. It's a balancing act because, this thing is white hot right now. You don't want to lose market share to potential competitors, but don't get into a deal that's not right. It's not a good one. I mean, put yourself in a position where, success is likely and not a moonshot. That would be my advice. I mean, we did have some touch and go moments in our first year, but because we really had focused on developing a white hot core, whether it's owners, advisors, members, staff, everyone was kind of all in on this thing. That just really was the wind in our sails to make this happen. So yeah, just look before you leap when it comes to what kind of deals you're getting into, what kind of deals that you're signing, because the devil's always in the details. You need to be careful with that stuff. Make sure you have a really good attorney that is a part of your team. I'd say that is absolutely, it's okay also to say, you know what, maybe, I mean, there's a group here and it's trying to do something in Portland, and I love what they're doing. I think that their core values and what they're all about is great. I think that they're realizing like doing the thing with the building is really tricky. And I said, hey, you guys might want to consider being a nonprofit and leasing available space. And there's a lot of opportunity there. Sometimes it's good to know when to, I'm not worried about competition because I think Portland has 2.5 million future pickleball players. They just don't all know it yet because everyone who plays it loves it and wants to do it more. So frankly, I'm not worried about competition, but it is a daunting task. Real estate here is a lot more expensive, I think, than like middle of the country and where it's just, there's more space. Like, that's probably a general statement that I could be wrong about that, but it's just, urban sprawl is not a big thing here and it's hard to find the space. So that's a long-winded answer for you.
And I'm going to chime in and just sort of reiterate something that we mentioned earlier, just because it's so important from an administrative and operations standpoint. Keep it simple. When you are starting, simple is so much better. You can always take things other directions, but the simpler you start, in terms of membership, in terms of how you approach your HR, in terms of how you create your space, the more success you will have early on, and the stronger platform you will create to grow from.
Do a lot of intro to pickleball, maybe make it free if you can. And then if you only add anything, add just round robins, for beginners and up to intermediate, and then manage those group play sessions. We don't do paddle cue park stuff here. And I think the people that will come in and play in the summer, they want to have a curated playing experience. And so that's what we're providing, whether it's clinics, lessons, or those group play sessions.
And don't you wish you would have had the ability to come to a mastermind event and learn about all the other things other people are doing? I just would encourage people to just come.
You have no idea. Yeah. Oh my God.
It is, I mean, we had half of the people were new and half of the people were existing, and just the ability to hear what people had done and not do the same mistakes. I mean, you're going to pay for your mistakes. So either pay and come to mastermind, or you can pay and make the mistake later. Yeah. It was an incredible thing. We'll send notice.
I highly recommend it. You'd be kind of crazy to not do it.
Yeah. You learn the hard way, or you can learn the fast way.
That's exactly right. So, well, hey, thank you guys so much. We're going to put this up on our Court Reserve YouTube channel. Thanks to Kevin and Val at Rex. We're so grateful to spend time with you guys today. Thanks for all your wisdom, and we will see you guys in a few weeks.
Thanks, Ashley.
All right. Take care. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jill.
Right.
Have a great day.
Take care, guys.
Bye.